Hello, this is Nancy Reynolds in the United States. Welcome to the latest edition of the International Crafters Video Hop. I have a lovely card for you. I hope you enjoy. It's a spanner card. Let's see if I can cover up the reflection from my light. But it is an anniversary or a wedding card, probably a wedding card. But it spans, this section spans the space between these two pieces so that it moves all as one card. That's why it's called the spanner card. And I wanted to show you how to make it today. I am using the Lifetime of Love stamp set. I'm going to use this stamp, the sentiment wishing you a lifetime of love and happiness and forever and always. I'll be using the die to cut out the stamp and the beautiful, beautiful designer series paper. Oh my, this is such lovely paper. Isn't that gorgeous? It is, somewhere in here is the name of it. But look at it, this. Isn't it beautiful? It's got the beautiful gold foiling on one side and the opposite side. This one has stripes in Moody Mauve, and this is Pretty Peacock with gold. And the back side has Petal Pink. Those are the three colors in the suite. We've got some more gold in a lattice design with roses and Petal Pink for the back side. This is lovely. And this is really nice because you can cut out, like some of these have dies in the set, and so you can cut them out, or you can fussy cut them. They're really easy. We've got Pretty Peacock leaves on the end. I've already showed you that one. And this one is just lovely, and I think this is the one we're using actually. The Moody Mauve with the gold, and then Pretty Peacock, kind of dashes and dots on the back. I just love this paper. And I told you I'd tell you the name. It is the Forever Love 12x12 Specialty Designer Series paper. And believe me, it had me at gold. I love shiny and pretty. I've used a lot of it. Here are my scraps. There's quite a few in there. And this is one of the cards I designed with it. So what we're going to start out with is I want to show you how to make the base. It is 4 1/4 by 11 inches long, which is 10.5 by 29.7 centimeters. And you're going to score it in half, just like you would a regular card. 5.5 inches in imperial, 14.9 centimeters in metric. Then you're going to take this and you're going to turn it the long way. Doesn't matter which side you cut out from, because it's going to become a 4 1/4 by 7 inch, or 10.5 by 19 centimeters. Which means, since it's 11 minus 4 inches, because I work in imperial, 11 minus 7 is 4 inches. So I'm going to take 4 inches off. Okay, take a deep breath and slice. There we go. So here is our card base. Now we're going to use both pieces of this. So I'm going to slide this over. So I've got all my notes right here, so I'm just going to pull them over here. Keep the cutoff piece. This is the 4 1/4 or 10.5 centimeter side. You want to keep that in this orientation. And I am going to cut this for the focal piece. It's going to be 2.5 by 4 1/4, or 10 by 14.4 centimeters. So I'm cutting this piece off, and now I'm going to show you how it goes together, because this is the same size as the top. So this goes on the bottom, and this spans the distance of our card. So that is the basis for this fun technique and fun fold. So I'm going to set that aside because I have one all ready to go. It is, like I said, 4 1/4 by 11 inches, scored at 5.5, or 10.5 by 29.7 centimeters, scored at 14.9 centimeters. And I will put this in the description of the video. I cut it down to 4 1/4 by 7 inches by cutting 4 inches off of the length of the card base. So it now measures 10.5 by 19.7 centimeters. 10.5, 19.5. I kept the cutoff piece and I showed you how that goes together. So our focal piece is the larger of the two that we cut, 2 1/4 by 4 1/4, or 10 by 14.4, which leaves us the 1.5 by 4 1/4 piece, or 4.1 times 10.5. And I did do this. I made a sample in metric and I adjusted some of the dimensions a little bit, just to make it look better, to get the look I wanted. Because our cardstock's a little fatter, this was too wide, and so I just made it look the way I wanted. So it looks quite similar when it's finished in metric as in imperial. Okay, so we're going to take that sticky note off. We've already talked about the size of this one. For the inside, I've got a piece of Berry Vanilla, 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, or 10 by 14.4 centimeters. We're going to stamp on this and then adhere it. Now you'll notice that on my sample, I stamped in the middle and I put my focal point in the middle. And that was by design. You could put it to either side, left or right. I like it in the middle, especially for a more formal card. So that got that piece. Now we have all our layers. For the top and the bottom, I have 1 3/8 inch by 4 1/8 inch. For in metric, you're going to want 3.8 by 10.2 centimeters. Cut 2 of them. One will go on this piece, and one will be on this piece. Then I cut my, I don't see my two. Well, that would be very weird. I was sure I cut 2 pieces of the designer series paper. It's right here. That one, this one's here. So this is your focal piece. You've got your 2.5 by 4 1/4 inches, or 5.5 by 10.5 centimeters. I've got the Very Vanilla layer as 2 3/8 by 4 1/8, or 5.2 by 10.2 centimeters. And then the designer series paper is 2 1/4 by 4 inches, or 4.4 by 9.9 centimeters. So I have those all ready to go. Oh, they were right in front of me. Oh my goodness. That's embarrassing. You could see them and I couldn't. 1 1/4 by 4 inches, or 3.5 by 9.8 centimeters is our designer series paper. And they will go right here. So let's do some assembling. Because I really, really, really am best when I have fewer pieces to keep track of, as you can easily tell. So we'll start with the top. Oh. Normally I would put this on the Very Vanilla because it's a little smaller, so I'll just keep it inside the lines. It is a very narrow margin. And metric's 1/8 of an inch. That'd be about 0.3 inches, 0.3 centimeters. Because that is the look I wanted. I've got the 3 layers, and I wanted each one to be seen, but they're actually setting off each other, I think. Because if we didn't have this Very Vanilla layer, then the designer series paper would melt into the background of the cardstock. And we don't want it to do that. The advantage of using liquid glue, as you are all aware, is that it gives you a little wiggle room. It also means that sometimes you're going to wiggle it into, accidentally hit it and put it in the wrong place. But all right, one more. And we've got our top and bottom done. See how easy this card is? People will wonder what you did when you make one. How did she do that? Now we'll put our focal piece together with our Very Vanilla. So remember to take off all my sticky notes. Sticky notes are very handy. Should probably about stock in the company. I think crafters keep them in business. Although, as a secretary, I use a lot of sticky notes. Okay, here we are. Now the key to putting this together is I put the top one on first. And I like to just kind of turn this over and line it up so that I know that my glue is in the proper place. And glue is really a great adhesive to use when you're doing fun folds, or it's going to take some, it's a mechanism that's going to work. You need a really strong adhesive, and you can use tear and tape, but I like being able to wiggle it around a little bit. Move it just a hair over, or try to straighten it up. And then on the bottom, what I did is I just carefully line this up on the bottom, kind of move that over, and then know that I'm going to do about the same amount on this side as I did on the top. Then I'm holding that down. I've adjusted a little. Again, you've got wiggle room once you get the glue down. So here we are. And I'm just going to make sure this is fitting nicely. There we are. Our card is together. All we have to do now is the stamping and the decorating. Yay us. So what I did is I went ahead and did a little cutting. I used from the Stylish Shape dies. I used the second smallest, and I cut the fronts for the front sentiment, and instead of using it the long way, I turned it horizontal. Let me put this away before I lose it. I'm working at not losing any pieces today, other than, of course, the designer series paper that was right in front of my eyes. I have one done just in case something goes wrong with the stamping. We also have an envelope and a piece of scrap paper. This is, again, I'm using Very Vanilla. It goes really nicely with this card, I think. So, the first thing we're going to stamp, let's get the Memento ink out. And our pretty roses with the greenery. We'll be coloring these with our blends. Let's see. Doesn't have to be straight because I'm going to cut it out with a die. So we'll just put this on, give it a moment to transfer. There we are. Now we're going to set that aside just for a moment while we finish the stamping. On our die cut for the sentiment, we're going to use Pretty Peacock. Here we are, and we will just go tap, 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 tap. I just really like practicing, and so I keep some, yep. And we will line this up, put it down. Looks good. The inside, okay, that's all we're going to use that stamp for. I'm going to clean the black off of our flower foil stamp with my chamois, which is feeling like it could use a little bit more water added to it. I need to rinse it out again. So here is our sentiment for the inside. Let me practice that one. I did a pretty good job of getting these on straight, so I have high hopes. And this needs to go about in the middle to be covered up by our spanner piece. There we are. So we've got this piece done. We've got our sentiment. So we're going to have a pretty inside. We've got a pretty outside. We need a pretty envelope. So I am just going to take Pretty Peacock and put the flowers in the corner on the front, ink up again, and put them on the flap, just so it looks good. Oh, I dropped it. Oh, darn. Well, this one's going to overlap. Yep, I don't like it. Throwing that one away. I am not as careful with envelopes or as picky about them as I am with cardstock, because we would figure out a way to make that one work. But we're not going to worry about that today. So here we go. The idea is not to drop it. And I'll just put this in. We have a pretty envelope. We have a pretty inside. I love this font. I love scripty fonts. We're closing the ink before I get it onto anything else that it's not supposed to be on. And we can do what I really want to do. I like to color. Let's see if I've got a piece of scrap paper that's clean over here. That's cardstock in my scrap paper pile. That's not right where it belongs. Here we are. You want to have something that's going to, let's see if I can get this just a little bit together. Something that's not going to, you need something that absorbs, because the alcohol is going to bleed through. So I've got Pretty Peacock, light and dark for the leaves, and I've got Moody Mauve, light and dark for the flowers. And I like to go through, and most of the time I use my tip end. If it's really small, I might try the larger end for this one. And I'm just going to lay down some alcohol ink in the light. It does bleed out a little bit. I don't mind that, because if it bleeds out a little tiny bit, it's going to bleed into the colors and onto the Berry Vanilla as I die cut it. And I am not a huge fan of the edge left around the die cutting. I can live with it. I understand why. And when I fussy cut, I leave a little edge. But here we are. Let's lay down a little more on this one. You can also use the color lifter, which is actually a color pusher. It pushes the color through. And then with the dark, I'm going to go over and I am going to, where there's a fold, I'm going to give it a little more color. And where we have the artist's highlighted areas, we're going to give it a little more color. A little bit in the inside, get a little darker. There's a little bit of, but basically I'm doing this pretty fast. A little in the center. And then I'm going over it again with my light to make sure there's enough alcohol to blend those colors together and soften my edges, my highlighting edges. So here we are. Our roses are done. We'll do the same thing with the Pretty Peacock. So here's the Pretty Peacock light. Just looked up on my camera to make sure I'm not putting my head in the frame. You don't need to see my hair. We've got 3 little leaves. And then, as pretty as these roses are, I truly believe, and there's a lot of bling on the card with the gold flowers, but my thoughts are that all flowers deserve to be sparkly. Okay, using the darker one to add some of the markings here the artist gave us for darker shaded spots. And then back to the light just to make sure there's enough alcohol to blend those in. And you can't, and I'm not going clear out to the edge because the more you go over it, the darker the color gets. And I want to make sure I've got some lighter color and some darker colors. And the medium, which is where I've gone over it the second time. Now that should all blend in when it's all done. And normally I would wait just a little bit, but I have my Wink of Stella. And this might be a really old one. The style of the pen has changed. It does the very same thing. And I am just going to paint over the roses with Wink of Stella. I don't know that you can see it. I'll hold it up to the camera though, so you get a bit more of a look at the sparkly roses. Wouldn't it be nice if flowers sparkled like this in real life? Okay, here we are. All colored with a little Wink of Stella. Let's see if I can turn that so you can see. Oh, I caught it right there. There's a little, you can catch a little bit of the sparkle as I move it. Anyway, I really like it. Then I will take this and I would put the die on from the set, which is, here are the dies. So, this is the one that fits. I would take it over to my Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine and cut it out for you, except I've already done that. So I'll set this aside. I'm going to do another card with my little bits and pieces that are left over. So let's start putting together. Here's the one I have done. And all I did was on the edge, I took and I put just a little bit of glue and then lined it up. The Y is covered a little bit, but everybody knows that. It says always. So that is our focal sentiment. I have never liked using glue on the inside of my cards. I like using Seal, or in this case, Seal Plus, because I think that the glue shows through a little bit when you're just using basic white or very vanilla. It doesn't show through cardstock or really designer series paper. All right, our sentiment is hidden. The next thing I want to do is I am just going to take and I'm going to run some Seal Plus on the middle of my card, grab my peacock, and this is a gold and metallic peacock ribbon. Isn't that pretty? I just think it ties a little bit bulky for mailing. So instead of tying it, I just did a little swirl. There. And I'm going to find I would highly recommend taking one of your snips, put a ribbon on it, any ribbon you like, and keep them for your ribbon scissors, because you know that paper dulls scissors, and you don't want your ribbon scissors dulled. And this is going to go right here, and I'm going to put that on with dimensionals. I have some to use up. You know, use your dimensionals from edge to edge, because you don't want to waste your money. So get the most out of them, edge to edge, and then you can throw it in the garbage. I also recommend that you take these off carefully and put them in the garbage can, or you will find the dimensional backings everywhere. And here is our sentiment. We've got our ribbon. What are we missing? We are missing more sparkles. Look at this. This also comes in the suite. So the ribbon is part of the suite. The dies, the paper, the stamp set, and the petal pink and pretty peacock foil gems. Now, I used pretty peacock on this card, partly because, absolutely honestly, petal pink is not my color. So let me try a petal pink on here and see what we think. See, I just think that doesn't show up enough. Let's take that off. I lost its backing, so we'll just get rid of that one. I'll put this one where that glue dot is that came off the petal pink one. And then we've got quite a bit of depth here. And so I think I'll put a large one down here. And maybe another smaller one in here. I want to put it right there. Kind of weird to put it with the ribbon, but it works. It can still be seen. Okay, there we are. I am so glad you've joined me today for my contribution to the International Crafters Video Hop. I know that you're going to enjoy everybody's projects. My goodness, there's some wonderful crafters, and I was very honored to be invited to join them. So, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed it. And there, we'll put this one here too. And enjoy the rest of the hop. Don't miss anybody. All right, until I see you again, happy crafting. Bye-bye.